lot of area for the sheep and the cattle to range. And so perhaps that's why he went there. And they say, some believe he was there 10 years. Some say he was here 2 years and here 8 years. Some say he had just gotten there. This is what, when you read commentaries, how you can get confused. Because everybody's got their idea, you know. So, I want to go with the fact he was here for like 2 years and he was here for 8 years. So he had settled in. He had bought land in Shechem. Eventually, Joseph will be buried here in the land that Jacob had bought. And that'll be over 100 years later. Or actually, it'll be about 300 years later when they come back to this area. And Abraham was down here about 200 years before. So we are now talking about Shechem. And we're talking about Jacob's daughter. When I think about Jacob's daughter, we have to put that into perspective. Leah had Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, and then she left off giving, and then the others had children. And then she had Issachar, and then she had Zebulon, and then she had Dinah. We had Rachel, and we had her Bilhah, and then we had Zilpah, and they had Dan and Naphtali, and Gad and Asher, and then finally Joseph, and then Dinah. All of these 11 boys and one girl. Can you imagine the family and this little girl? I want you to see the love that had to have been for this little girl. Reuben was the oldest of the boys and should be taking up kind of a leadership role. And we'll see later that he does take up a leadership role, although Reuben has a problem. Later in his life, he decided that Bilhah was very pretty. And that was Reuben's downfall. You don't mess with your father's wives. And now we're going to find in this chapter, these two men are going to run into big problems with their father, Jacob. Jacob was not like Esau. If Jacob was like Esau, he would have settled this in a heartbeat. There wouldn't have been questions. There wouldn't have been, there would have just been a dead boy. But we have a whole family, and Jacob is going to receive the message of this. So let's look at this for just a little bit here, and I'll try to see if we can get the picture. But this is one of the saddest. And any of y'all have young daughters, have daughters? How many of you have daughters? Now, all right, so you understand the picture. And I was in Longview, Texas 40 years ago. Actually, it was 40 years ago. I heard a noise outside. And so I woke up and went outside, and our daughter was climbing out the window to meet two other girls. Isn't that sweet? That happens across America, perhaps every day, for sure every weekend. A young girl, we read about them and hear about them in the news. And if we were to get all of the local stations, we would hear about car accidents, we would hear about problems, we would hear about things that should never have happened, but you cannot watch your child 24 hours a day. It's just like children drowning, and it's like, how did that happen? I mean, what a terrible mother. No, she just turned her back for a second, and boom, it's gone. I mean, you don't even think about it. You know, and here we have, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Josephus, who is a Jewish historian from that era, from the era of Christ, Josephus said that there was a festival going on, and so she went out to see the festival, the ladies' clothes, the ladies' garments, all of their attire, and just to visit, it was innocent. Do you think that when Diane left, she went to see a man? No, she was 12 to 14, perhaps as much as 15 years old. Most put her between 12 and 14 years of age. I don't care what year in history, this is 4,000 years ago. I don't care what year in history it is, that's still a young girl. A very young girl. I heard the other day a Muslim man was going to marry a 6-year-old. And then they said he couldn't marry her because she was too young. He had to wait till she was 9. This is our Muslim world that we live in. She went to see the daughters of the land. An innocent young girl has gone to town. I wrote about it this week. Innocence meets evil. Innocence meets evil. Throughout history, there's always been evil. Evil is out there. Today, we see evil on our TVs every day. You can't, if you watch a show and you're just within a split second, a 2-second or 3-second commercial, boom, it's right. You can't take it away. Your eyes have seen it. Whether it be 2 men kissing, 2 women kissing, just things that just ought not to be. This young girl goes to town, innocent, pure, loved by her family, and she meets a young man named Shechem. Now, some things here that are important is Shechem is the son of Hamor, so we know the man, and we know who he was. He was a Hivite, which is one of the Canaanites of the land. Now, when Abraham came down, it was 200 years earlier, and there was a settlement here. That settlement has grown now, and this is a perfect spot because, like I drew up on the board, it is an area where people coming across from the east to the west, they cross the Jordan and they go in, and they're going. If they want to go north or south, they go through Shechem, and then they can go on the other side. They can go north or south, and he is a prince. Now, some of the people call him a king of this county. And that would be, like a mayor or a governor of that state. So his son could have any woman he wants. Right? I mean, if you're influential, if your father is the king, you should have your choice. If they want you and you want them, you should be able to have your choice. The Bible said he saw her. Now, we have sin, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life are all wrapped up in this young man. Now also we find in Matthew 5:20, it says that whosoever looketh upon a woman to lust after her committeth adultery with her already where? In his heart. This young man, when he saw her, lusted after her with his eyes, but his heart was evil. Are you understanding this? He could have anything he wants. Remember when Jesus was told the story of the man, or no, David was told the story of the man that had just one sheep, and he loved that sheep, and the rich man went and took his sheep to use it for lunch, and Nathan pointed to David and said, "Thou art the man," when he took Bathsheba. Thou art the man. This is just like David. He could have had anybody. He was married. He had several. He should have been at war. This man chose this woman to perform an evil act. And he thought he was privileged enough to do it. The indications are, the words here, it said he saw her. I would assume at that point he would have walked up to her and began to commune with her, talk to her. Perhaps he talked to her as he walked along and led her to a certain spot. I don't know. We don't know. We're not told. But we do know the next words. He took her. Now this word took for us, so we can read this real quickly, and it doesn't say a whole lot. But this word indicates he violently took her. In other words, you have a young girl, and you go to rape this young girl, and she don't want to be mishandled. So she rebels against that. And so he takes her by force. You know, we say in America, no means no, right? She was saying no. No, 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 no. No. There's no indications at all, ever, that she willingly did this. He took her. And then the Bible said he lay with her. He lay with her. I don't know how all this went down. It's just simple language here. But the Bible, this word lay with her means he oppressed her. He afflicted her. We find something similar in 2 Samuel 13. I have in your notes, you can read it. It's Amnon, a son of David. David had 5 wives, I think. And one of the wives of David had a daughter named Tamar, and Absalom, a son, Absalom. Y'all have heard of Absalom. Absalom had a sister. Her name was Tamar. Amnon was from another family, and he lusted after Tamar. He had to figure a way to work out so he could rape her. He could take her. And then he booted her out of the house, and he paid for that 2 years later. Absalom took care of that. But now we have Dinah. He lay with her, where it indicates he oppressed her, and then the Bible says he defiled her. She is nothing more than a notch in his belt of accomplishments. Some things it's hard for me to reason as we get into this more. It says his soul clave to her, to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and he spake kindly unto the damsel. This is hard for me. You just abused her. You actually, as a man, young man, he has no concept of what he did to this young lady. He has no concept. I don't know what he was thinking in his mind. He just violently took her and raped her, and now he's trying to be nice to her and say, I love you. May I say, and you're not going to agree with this, some of you might not, I don't know. If a man beats a woman and then says, I love you, I have a problem with that. But here again, we have stories throughout our everyday in history where men beat their wives, may even go to jail, and then she takes them back into the house. But Dinah's not that person. This young girl, her whole life was ahead of her. We're going to read about Dinah as we go on, more about her, but her life from that moment on was ruined. It was ruined. It was ruined. This man says, I love you. I don't know what he felt when he finished his task. When lust is finished, I don't know what he felt. Did he feel a feeling of accomplishment? Or did he have a feeling of fear? What have I done? How do I undo it? I'll marry her. That's my answer. I have defiled her. I have ruined her life. There's no indication she wanted him ever. I'll marry her. Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. What do you think that conversation was like when he went to his father and told him, I raped her? Oh, I don't think he said it that way, do you? How do you go to your father and put your father in this position? Now, his father has to go and try to save his son's life. Like I said, if this was Esau instead of Jacob, this man would not be breathing very long. And actually, had he have raped and done that to a Hivite woman, what would the punishment have been there? They may very well have put him to death. I think it'd have been a good idea just to set him out in the midst of 11 boys and see what happens by the time he gets through that. That's just me. I'm not God, so I'm not going to do things like that. But thoughts cross your mind when you defile such a young, precious, innocent person. Dad, go talk to them. I want to marry her. No, I don't think there's any, you know what, and a lot of the commentators I read said, oh, he loved her and things like that. No, I don't think he loved her. How do you love someone you just raped and just beat? I mean, he didn't beat her necessarily, but he took her by force. In other words, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't some scratches on his body somewhere. So now we go to Jacob heard that he had not defiled Dinah, his daughter. I know what my father would do. How did he hear? Who went and told him? Was it known in the town what Shechem had done? Did word spread throughout the city of what that young man did? I don't see or any indication where she went with somebody. Had she went with a chaperone, which what she should have done, the indications are kind of like she stepped out the window in the middle of the night and went to town, although that isn't what happened. But she went to town while all the boys were out working, and somehow she slipped away. Why would her mother, if knowingly, let her do that without having somebody go to town with her? And if somebody had been with her, would he have had that occasion? Would he have taken that time? Because he had had to fight off 2 people or 3 people to do what he did. I think she somehow managed to get out innocently on her own. We could even look at that as a sin in itself. The very beginning of maybe a disobedience, I don't know. I don't want to lay anything upon her because this isn't about her. Well, it is about her, but it's not. It's right now we're talking about what that boy did. Now his sons were with the cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. How does a father hold his peace until the family come? Now he gets a visit. Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. So the father meets the father. I would not want to be that father. How do you do that? How do you go like that? How do you do that? Both fathers are responsible for their child's actions. And then the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved and were wroth. These are words that express an intense anger. They loved Dinah. They loved her, and Simeon, Levi probably bounced her on their knees. They probably played with her, goo goo da da, all of this kind of stuff. This was their innocent, their only daughter or sister. Because he had wrought folly in Israel. That word Israel and the way it's formed, some indicate that this reveals Moses writing this story. Now imagine Moses writing these stories and thinking about this. I've had for the last couple of weeks to be thinking about this story. They heard it, they were wroth. He has wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. Now, another thing to understand here Hamor actually has come with the son. Shechem is with him. We'll see that in just a second. Hamor and Shechem are meeting a father and 11 sons and telling them this story. I don't know what story Jacob heard. The Bible tells he heard about her being defiled. That was enough. And knowing that it wasn't her fault. But also, where's Dinah? She's not here. She's in his house. He is not letting her out of the house. He's not letting her out of the house. She's there. She's still there. He still has control of her. Where is she? Why didn't he bring her to them? Hamor communed with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give him to wife." The nerve. Every mother, every father. And if you have sons that are a little older than your daughter, their sister, what do you think they're thinking? My dad, I don't know if I should tell you this. I don't have any time, but my dad would say, "Well, just turn him loose out there in that field and see if he can get away from my gun." My dad was a great shot. I know, I shouldn't be saying that. Something needed to be done. But what's going to be done magnified the problem. And this is where sin starts, and it just snowballs. As a child, we're rolling up a snowball for a snowman. That's what we're seeing happen here. And he says, "Make the marriage with us and give us your daughters and unto us, and take our daughters unto you." Sure, take this family of Israel and intermingle them with the Canaanites. That's exactly what God has told them to do, right? "And ye shall dwell with us in our land, we dwell with you in your land." And Shechem, the son, said unto her father, "Ho, ho, ho. This is a picture I would like to see. How do you hold back from strangling this young man? How do you hold back from not beating him to death?" Well, next time we will talk about this visit of Shechem. No, I hate to leave like this. It's like a TV series. We need to pray for our kids, watch our daughters and our sons. So many parents today have no control over their children. Father, thank you for the wonderful day you've given us. God, I pray that you'll bless Brother Matthew in the morning message. Just give us that we need to strengthen us and increase our faith. And we'll just be careful to give you all the honor and glory.